Thank you. Perfect. Please give a set to Rebecca.
Thank you. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, please grab a cushion and we will wait. So let's begin with our meditation, and I will sound the gong 3 times, and that will help you collect your thoughts and come to a resting position bodily, and begin by closing your eyes. And with the next sound, you may transcend any worries from today. Letting go of the past and also letting go of the future. Notice what is present here, the birds chirping, the presence of all these lovely people joining this meditation, and also the presence of your mind, presence of loving kindness, compassion, generosity, presence of your virtues. So these are the foundations that will assist us for a stronger meditation. So we begin also by scanning quickly the parts of your body from head to toes. So you can begin by releasing and relaxing the muscles on the top of your head and then your forehead, relaxing your eyes, the thousands of muscles there, relaxing your face, bringing a gentle smile to your lips, and the back of your head, your neck, and noticing also that your neck is resting on your spine, and thus your upper back, mid back, and lower back relaxed. And your chest, abdomen, sitting bones, shoulders, arms, and palms, your fingers, they are all relaxed. And lower body, your knees, ankles, shin bones, the soles of your feet, the toes, relaxed. So you move away from any agitations. Anytime when you notice any tension, any tightness arise, feel free to adjust your posture to move away from those agitations, whether it is physical or mental. And now you will discover the rhythm of your breath being revealed to your awareness. So take a deep breath in and bring your shoulders all the way up. And drop your shoulders as you breathe out from your mouth. Please do so a couple of times. Now, mindfulness applied to your breathing. Mindfully, you breathe in. Mindfully, effortlessly, you breathe out. With the thoughts of letting go, you breathe in and breathe out. With the thoughts of letting go of cruelty and bringing up compassion, you breathe in and breathe out. With the thoughts of loving kindness and letting go of anger, you breathe in and breathe out. As you do this exercise, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, physical sensations, and thinking, they all subside to a certain degree. Your mind naturally inclines toward resting, stillness, calmness, and tranquility. So you continue to observe your breath coming in and going out. However subtle it becomes, you notice it. Okay, thank you for that energy. I had a lovely meditation. So today we talk about Vesak, and if you have no idea what that means, um, it is a celebration that is done in the Buddhist world in the month of May to celebrate the arising of the Buddha, his enlightenment, and his passing away, because all these three events took place on the full moon day of this month. People want to celebrate it, and this comes right after April. April is Sri Lanka's New Year, so about a month later, then we have 1 week of celebrations, uh, holiday for government workers, also private sector, I think, in Sri Lanka. So people can't buy any alcohol, although some people buy it beforehand, so they prepare, or they close all the slaughterhouses, so no animals are allowed to be slaughtered. And then um, people dedicate most of their time for spiritual practices, meditation retreats, visiting temples, doing pilgrimages. They do all these things. But as a kid growing up in Sri Lanka, I remember when the Vesak season came, we had a Sunday school for the Buddhist temple, and we did devotional songs, Bhakti Gita. Bhakti is the devotion. So I was part of the group. It's called the choir, right? So I was there every year. We There were teachers training us to sing, and there were competitions. So I remember wanting to win in most of these, provincial competitions with the groups. Um, so we had developed high hopes, although at the back of our heads we knew that uh, competitions in Buddhism didn't have much place, but we did it anyway. We thought we were doing something great. And in the school, I remember we were getting excited uh, buying the Vesak greeting cards and then giving it to teachers and our close friends. So you sign it and say something nice, say something like Happy Vesak, and may your mind be, pure, and whatever that you want to write. And there is a poem with 4 lines in each poem, and we love to read it, by the power of the Buddha's qualities, may you be well, that kind of meaning is there. May you celebrate this Vesak. So the word Vesak emerged a lot in all these celebrations, and the word Vesak means it comes from Vaishakha, that is the Sanskrit word for the month of May. And the way it is organized is based on the moon's calendar, the lunar calendar. So they celebrate Vaishakha Day and Vesak Day in South Asia, Southeast Asia, and in the Buddhist world now. And what they do varies depending on the country. China, Korea, Japan, um, Burma, Sri Lanka, Thailand, India, all of us celebrate it in our own ways. And um, Nepali Buddhist tradition and Tibetan Buddhist tradition has this practice of bathing the Prince Siddhartha. So there is a statue of Prince Siddhartha. He became the Buddha. So in that ceremony, they bathe him with water. All the members of the congregation go and put a cup of water, and that practice symbolizes purification, inner purity. So they do that as a practice. And in Sri Lanka, they do they bring thousands of flowers to the temple. Everybody brings flowers, and they decorate the temple with flowers. And at home, the other exciting flowers, candle, the oil oil lanterns, oil lamps are brought thousands of these. So they put them in order, in nice orders, like a bodhi leaf, a leaf like that. So they put it in, in a nice pattern like that. They love to see those things, like a community work, group work. The other exciting thing I remember doing is making a Vesak lantern. So it is usually it has a shape of a star. That's the kind that my dad used to make. So they use bamboo sticks and use thin paper to, different colors. Yellow color, usually the colors represent the halo of the Buddha, the 6 colors that he emitted. So the blue, yellow, white, red, these colors, they are available for a very cheap price in stores. So my parents buy it, and so we watch him, my dad especially, I watch him making a Vesak lantern using bamboo sticks that looks like a star, and inside of it you can light a candle, usually an oil lamp. Now they put electric bulbs inside. But those days for us, we know that anytime this can get burnt with the wind coming, and we think of the impermanence at the time. So the next day we get excited, wanting to see it, but maybe the rain has destroyed it or wind has burnt it. So it's just then immediately the thought enters, oh, this is impermanence, nothing lasts. Thoughts are impermanent, bodies are impermanent, and so are these Vesak lanterns and all the properties, whatever we associate with. So that was there, and then the villages, they know that villages and towns, they know that there will be many vehicles on the road with those who take pilgrims. So these pilgrims are given free food the entire week. Excellent, delicious food. So I remember staying in huge lines. Sometimes these lines are as long as 2-3 kilometers, but they go fast. So you wait for your turn and you get a good meal. And if you want more food, there you continue your journey and you get more food in ahead somewhere in a different village. And usually they also give ice cream, anything you ask for, they have it. So they give medicinal drinks, they give fried rice, roti is like a tortilla, and so they give all these stuff for free. And usually people collect money beforehand from the village, and then put all that money together. Everybody wants to contribute to it because it's Vesak and people have spiritual thoughts at the time. It's like Christmas. And in towns, you will see many decorations. Like in Christmas here, you will see all the streets decorated with lights and lanterns. Every house has a Vesak lantern. So there is a main lantern and then there are baby lanterns. So these are called children of the main lantern. It also has the shape of an octagon, something that has 8 pieces. So that represent the Eightfold Path. So everything has a meaning. And usually the structure that is built of bamboo sticks, um, and it is preserved for the next year and couple of years after this. So you take it out every year and put new paper and hang it in front of your house or somewhere in your compound under a tree, and street people on the street can see that you are also celebrating Vesak. And some people also have the Buddhist flag with the six colors that were emitted from the Buddha upon his enlightenment. And so the Buddhist flag is also displayed. So it's a proud thing for everyone to do. And then when on your way at night, you have many Vesak pandals. That's a huge structure uh, in a field or in a center of a small pond. And in that pandal, it's a pandal, Pandal, Torana. The word is Torana. They display a story from a previous life of the Buddha, usually a Jataka tale. Jataka tale, Vesantara Jataka, Sambula Jataka, Apannaka Jataka, Asampadana Jataka, Asatamanta Jataka, many Jatakas. Or the Buddha's enlightenment is displayed in murals, and all the lights are shining on the side of each piece of this Jataka, and it's a huge structure, like a 3-4 story building. And this is usually always sponsored by business people, and there are competitions in towns, to win the best one, best pandal of the year. And I remember living in Kandy, and in the center of the town, this is uphills in Sri Lanka. They have a famous cricket ground, and there the police station organizes the biggest competition for Vesak lantern. So people get super creative every year. Schools represent these, prisons bring their creativity, and all the institutions, they bring their creativity. This is like an advertisement. It has become something like an advertisement for Singer. Singer is an electronics company in Sri Lanka, so they try to enter this competition, and they show um, various ways of presenting their creativity and wanting to win. And there will be a specific person who is skilled at chanting something like in a poetic form, and with using drums on a microphone, the whole village hear this story that they are displaying in the pandal, the Torana. So Thorana. I remember going to these places and watching. It's like going to a musical show, and you will see thousands of people watching this Torana uh, to learn the entire story. What happened next, what happened next, and what's the message of it. So it's just a huge festival. And Sri Lanka has all the, I think Sri Lanka has all the loudspeakers that the world has. Sure, you you cannot escape the chanting in the evening, or the mosque trying to play their thing, and the Hindu kovil trying to play their thing. It's just everything you hear. You wake up with it and you go to bed with it, and nobody can ban these things. Although the government has policies that you shouldn't play it at a certain hour, they don't care. We are Buddhist, we are Muslim, we are Christian. We are supposed to be doing this. So it's just that the government only can do so much. But when it gets so disruptive, then the government gets involved. So they try to stop it. So that's the nature of festivals. That's the nature of festivities. But why do we actually celebrate it? What actually happened? And I put together 6 discourses of the Buddha so we can do a little reading and understand what actually happened, what happened in the Buddha's mind, why he is the Buddha. I think that is our theme today, and we will discuss about enlightenment and his efforts through the reading today. And let me share the screen. So I have the number 19 from the middle length discourses. This is the Buddha speaking. Monks, before my enlightenment, while I was still only an unenlightened Bodhisattva, it occurred to me, suppose that I divide my thoughts into two classes. Then I set on one side thoughts of sensual desire, thoughts of ill will, and thoughts of cruelty. And I set on the other side thoughts of renunciation, thoughts of non-ill will, and thoughts of non-cruelty. So what are these? Thoughts of sensual desire, I think it's obvious. Thoughts of ill will, this is anger. Thoughts of cruelty, these are, thoughts wanting to harm oneself or others. So thoughts of renunciation is the thought to let go of these. Thoughts of non-ill will is loving kindness. Thoughts of non-cruelty is compassion. Compassion toward oneself, compassion toward others. So as I abided thus, diligent, ardent, and resolute, a thought of sensual desire arose in me. It's inevitable that thoughts arise. I understood thus. These thoughts of sensual desire, ill will, and cruelty have arisen in me. They lead to my own affliction, to others' affliction, and to the affliction of both. They obstruct, they obstruct wisdom, cause difficulties, and leads away from Nibbāna. So lead away from Nibbāna. When I considered they lead to my own affliction, they subsided in me. When I considered they lead to others' affliction, they subsided in me. When I considered they lead to the affliction of both, they subsided in me. When I considered they obstruct wisdom, cause difficulties, and lead away from Nibbāna, they subsided in me. Whenever a thought of sensual desire arose in me or other thoughts, I abandoned them, removed them, did away with them. So this shows the effort he put forth for purifying his mind. Any questions on that so far? No, let's continue. And this piece is interesting. Monks, whatever a monk frequently thinks and ponders upon, that will become the inclination of his mind. If he frequently thinks and ponders upon thoughts of sensual desire, then his mind inclines to thoughts of sensual desire. Same with ill will and cruelty. So this is where the Buddha says, what you think, you become. So simple. And he gives a simile, just as in the last month of the rainy season in the autumn, when the crops thicken, a cowherd would guard his cows by constantly tapping and poking them on this side and that with a stick to check and curb them. Why is that? Because he sees that he could be flogged, imprisoned, fined, or blamed if he let them stray into the crops. So too I saw in unwholesome states danger, degradation, and defilement, and in wholesome states the blessing of renunciation, the aspect of cleansing. This is how he looked at it. As I abided thus, diligent, ardent, and resolute, a thought of renunciation arose in me. I understood thus, this thought of renunciation has arisen in me. This does not lead to my own affliction, or to others' affliction, or to the affliction of both. And it aids wisdom, does not cause difficulties, and leads to Nibbāna. If I think and ponder upon this thought, even for a night, even for a day, even for a night and day, I see nothing to fear from it. But with excessive thinking and pondering, I might tire my body. And when the body is tired, the mind becomes strained. And when the mind is strained, it is far from concentration. So I steadied my mind internally, quieted it, brought it to singleness, and concentrated it. Why is that? So that my mind should not be strained. So he gives another simile. Just as in the last month of the hot season, when all the crops have been brought inside the villages, a cowherd would guard his cows while staying at the root of a tree or out in the open. Since he needs only to be mindful that the cows are there, so too there was need for me only to be mindful that those states were there. Tireless energy was aroused in me, and unremitting mindfulness was established. My body was tranquil and untroubled, my mind concentrated and unified. So that's what I took from the Dveda Vitaka Sutta, and then we go to Noble Search. I too, monks, this is Arya Pariyesana Sutta. Before my awakening, when I was an unawakened Bodhisatta, being subject myself to birth, sought what was likewise subject to birth. This is like a young man falling in love with a woman. So both of them are subject to birth. That means they will be born, they will die, they will be born, they will die. And aging, illness, death, sorrow, defilement, all of these happen to me, all of those happen to those others. So what is my escape? The thought occurred to me, why do I, being subject myself to birth, seek what is likewise subject to birth, and so on. So what if I, being subject to aging and so on, seek unbinding from it? Um, and what is my unbinding? This is, he did his own thinking and research. So at a later time, while still young, a black-haired young man endowed with the blessings of youth in the first stage of life, and while my parents, unwilling, were crying with tears streaming down their faces, I shaved off my hair and beard, put on the ochre robe, and went forth from the home life into homelessness. Although the story that is commonly held by people is that he left in the middle of the night when parents were not watching, this discourse says that his parents were crying when he left. And he left, he shaved off his hair and beard, that is to look like a monk. He became that simple, no decorations with the beard or hair. He just put on robes himself and he became an ascetic. That's what he did. And so these pieces, when put together, shows his putting of sincere effort. So he was 29 when he did that, and they say he did self-mortification for 6 years, and that is wrong. No one would do that for 6 years, and you will discover why um, in the next discourse, Fear and Dread. This is Bhayabhairava Sutta. He says, before my enlightenment, while I was still only an unenlightened bodhisattva, I too considered thus. Remote jungle, thicket resting places in the forest are hard to endure. The jungles must rob a monk of his mind if he has no concentration. So he goes to, in this discourse and in Noble Search also, you find that he went to different teachers, especially Alara Kalama and Uddaka Buddha, and he mastered the teachings they taught. And Alara Kalama taught one of the attainments, um, and that is called, um, what is it called? Akasananchayatana, infinite space, attaining that level. And then Uddaka Ramaputta taught Neva Sanyana Sanyayatana, neither perception nor non-perception. Uh, and so there was nothingness taught to him that he can attain that kind of level in his meditation, and he mastered them, and they placed him as their teacher, the teacher for the students that came to learn these. These were the most famous teachers at the time. But he said this hasn't helped him uh, be completely free. So he did all the possible uh, practices that were available, and he was often misguided. And one of the misguidance he was given was that giving self mortification to the body will liberate you ultimately. When you kill your body completely with self mortification, you will be enlightened. This is why the Buddha said, no, that does not help you become awakened. Abandon these wrong practices. Come to the right understanding. And the right understanding comes from understanding that there is suffering, there is the arising of this suffering through craving, and then there is the cessation of suffering, and that there is the path toward uh, ending uh, the suffering, ending craving. So that is the eightfold path he taught, and he discovered it himself, and these discoveries are discussed in the discourses, and his awakening happens. If you go to the ending of this document, although we can discuss everything today, I can share this for those who are interested. At one time, the Blessed One was, so this is the first discourse, Enlightenment 1. And in there he says, at one time the Blessed One was staying in the city of Uruvela on the bank of the river Neranjara at the foot of the Bodhi tree, having just realized supreme enlightenment. There, the Blessed One was sitting cross-legged for 7 days straight, experiencing the peace of liberation. At the end of those 7 days, the Blessed One emerged from that concentration, and in the first watch of the night, he reflected on the cause and effect method in forward order as follows. So this goes as iti imasmin sati idang hoti imasupada idang upajjati, and so on. When this exists, this comes to be, and by the arising of this, this comes to be. And then you go to the next discourse. He reflected on the cause and effect method in the reverse order. So with the cessation of ignorance, formation ceases. With the cessation of formations, consciousness ceases. With the cessation of consciousness, mentality and materiality ceases. And then in the third discourse, he reflected on the cause and effect method in forward and reverse order in both ways. So he did his research in the 6 years leading to his awakening and gave up all the practices that were misleading. And then he directed his mind inwardly to his own mind, and then understood how suffering arises and how the suffering can be eliminated. And then he began teaching that to the world. So in the second discourse, that is in the third discourse, the fear and dread, you see uh, this. I think that's the second paragraph of it. I consider thus, whenever recluses or Brahmins unpurified in bodily conduct resort to remote jungle thicket, resting places in the forest, then owing to the defeat of their unpurified bodily conduct, these good recluses and Brahmins evoke unwholesome fear and dread. But I do not resort to remote jungle thicket resting places in the forest unpurified in bodily conduct. I am purified in bodily conduct. I resort to remote jungle thicket resting places in the forest as one of the noble ones with bodily conduct purified. Seeing in myself this purity of bodily conduct, I found great solace in dwelling in the forest. So he goes on to explain removing covetousness and lust, and removing intentions of hate, removing sloth and torpor, removing restlessness and unpeacefulness in mind, um, removing doubt, removing self-praise and disparagement, removing terror, removing desire for gain, honor, renown, re- honor and renown, and having few wishes, removing laziness and wanting in energy, and he resorted to being energetic and abandoning being unmindful and not fully awake and establishing mindfulness and abandoning unconcentrated mind or straying mind, and he gained concentration. So he just did that kind of research. And he also said how he overcame all these challenges, and he entered quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome states. I entered upon and abide in the first jhana, which is accompanied by applied and sustained thought. So, what is this applied thought and sustained thought? Applied thought is thought of renunciation, thoughts of loving kindness, thoughts of compassion. So, you let go of anger, let go of um, cruelty, and resort to loving kindness as you meditate, love and compassion as you meditate, and you let go of desire as you meditate. So, and then rapture and pleasure arise in that mind. And it arises because of seclusion from those things, and resort into a place where there is no disturbance. And he goes further. With the stilling of applied and sustained thought, I entered upon and abided in the second jhana, which has self-confidence and singleness of mind without applied and sustained thought. So you don't need any thoughts, with rapture and pleasure born of concentration. So this is actually no thought state that is called noble silence. And with the fading away of as well of rapture, I abided in equanimity and mindful and fully aware, with still feeling pleasure with the body. I entered upon and abided in the third jhana, on account of which noble ones declare he has a pleasant abiding who has equanimity and is mindful. With the abandoning of pleasure and pain, and with previous disappearance of joy and grief, I entered upon and abided in the fourth jhana, which has neither pain nor pleasure, and purity of mindfulness due to equanimity. And then he directs his mind to imperturbability, and then he recollects past lives, and then he banish ignorance, and so he just there's a lot going on in this, in his mind, and he does he reveal all these stages he went through, um, and then he directed his mind towards passing away and reappearance of beings. But beings are born in various planes of existence, and that was his second knowledge. And then he directed his mind towards destruction of uh, taints. This is where he went through all the stages of awakening. And then he directly knew as it actually is. This is suffering. I directly knew as it actually is. This is the origin of suffering, and so on. And then he asked this interesting question toward the end. Now, it might be that you think perhaps the Buddha is not free from lust, and that is why he is still living in jungle, thicket, resting places, and in the forest. But he says, don't think that. It is because I see two benefits that I still resort to forest. I see a pleasant abiding for myself, and then I have compassion for future generations. That's why he does what he does. So I hope you got some knowledge, and I ask you to read these discourses in detail, because there is only so much time we have. We can't cover everything. But do you have any burning questions in the next couple of minutes before I wrap up? Yes, Nanduka Mahat.
I have two questions. First is now sometimes you get bad thoughts like ill will or anger or something like that. All of a sudden you get it. So what you should do by when you get that to get away, it repeatedly coming up again and again, what you should do.
Yeah. First of all, it's natural. We are humans and we have these thoughts. And what has helped me is to think how it can be destroying my own inner peace. And then sometimes, what I often think about it when these thoughts involve anger, is that getting angry is like drinking poison and wanting somebody else to die, or keeping something burning in your hand and wanting somebody else to get burnt. So I immediately try to remove it by bringing up loving kindness toward myself. When you have that loving kindness, you look at others with loving kindness and compassion. You don't get easily irritated by their irritable behavior. It's inevitable that they also go through their own sufferings, and we can enter their minds to control that. So I think we develop lots of patience with that kind of behavior, and bring it takes a lot of time, years of practice. I know by so many years of practicing that it takes so much effort to bring your mind to loving kindness and stay in it. So applying mindfulness to loving kindness all the time, to metta to oneself, and then metta toward others, and compassion toward oneself and compassion toward others, you become free from cruelty, free from anger, free from
Mhm.
discomfort. I believe that helps. Did that help?
Yeah. And can I ask you another one more question?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Now, when you do the meditation, sometimes without your knowledge, your mind like goes away, start wandering.
Hmm.
So when you realize it, you bring it back. But the thing is, my problem is it goes out like very often, like that happens very often. So you get really frustrated sometimes. Why can't I control my own mind?
Yeah,
So that happens like very often. So we not even sometimes within 2 minutes it goes away again.
yeah.
So
You are
you
not the
really get
only one.
frustrated.
Welcome to the club. You're not the only one. This happens to all of us, right? So what we do is what we call the rain practice. Recognize whenever you are distracted, accept that accept that as a nature, that we can't control it. Actually, the word controlling is very tricky. We need to know that we can only let things be. We can control. The more you try to control it, it becomes stronger. You are feeding it more. So recognize, accept it, investigate. Investigate what hindrance this is. Is this restlessness? What is it asking? What will be an alternative meditation practice? Read the Aggi Sutta, where the Buddha discusses about um, the five hindrances and overcoming of these. That will help. So please take a note on Aggi Sutta. This is about fire. And
Okay.
he talks about hindrances and how to overcome them. When the mind is sluggish, you are not going to meditate well. He said, do an investigation instead. And that way you get more alert. And you are now ready to come to a stillness of mind. So
Thank you.
that is how he, and the last letter N refers to non-identifying with these things that occur. So remember the RAIN practice: recognize, accept, investigate, and non-identify with these. Because if you identify with it, it doesn't do any help. It just becomes stronger. But understanding that things arise when the conditions are present and they disappear whenever they want, when the conditions disappear. They are not yours. Any worry about it doesn't bring you any peace. So I think continuously bringing up wisdom is also the remedy. While you purify your sila, that is virtues, and purify your mind through samadhi, that is stillness of the mind, and then developing wisdom, prajna. That will
Thank
be
you
the
very much.
best gift you can give to a monk. best gift you can give to the Buddha too, this Vesak.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So when you say identify,
Yeah. R for recognizing it, recognizing and accepting it. A. I for investigating it, and N for non-identifying with it. Yeah. You can email me whenever you want to remember that. There's also 6 R's that is introduced by Bhante Vimalaransi at Dhammasukha Meditation Center. So he recognizes, release. He introduces this teaching. Whenever you are distracted, you feel distracted, you recognize that you are distracted. Release that from your attention. And relax. This is very important. Relax the whole brain and the body. It takes only a moment. Relax and then re-smile. You bring up something wholesome. You re-smile. So you have to add a re to that because smile doesn't have R there. And then you return to your object of meditation, whether it is breathing, loving kindness, compassion, equanimity, or whatever you bring, you return and repeat. So recognize, release, relax, re-smile, return, repeat. Do these 6, and it only takes a moment, and I have done it and greatly benefited from that too. So whether you choose rain or 6 hours, you are on the path. You are meeting the Buddha on the way.
Thank you.
All right, but I have to end the session now. Do you have a question, Dr. Manisha?
Mm, no,
You
I
can
won't
make it
hold.
short if it
Eh,
is, yeah.
Yeah, so my thing was fear of what's going to be in the future. For example,
Mm,
renunciation. So
mm,
not exactly renunciation, but
mm,
just holding on to what you have right now without really worrying about what will come. For example, like if you are a Bhante or
mm.
anybody, what's going to be happening tomorrow? Will I get food? Will I be able to get shelter? And that can go on for the layperson. It's endless.
Yeah.
So how do you take care of it?
I believe that we all have the kind of anxiety that is needed to survive. Otherwise, we don't put any effort to prepare, whether it is a presentation or preparing for tomorrow. It can be very um, energy consuming and worrisome. So we all have a structure for tomorrow. That is that we know where the food is, we know where the stuff,
Mm,
we have access to these things. At least that puts away so much worry from us. The uncertainty, the only prediction of about the future is it is uncertain. That's how I can predict the future.
yeah.
mm,
Nothing certain about it. So much worrying. I think of this story of the kid who went to the dentist and he worried about it so much, only to find out that that dentist appointment was cancelled. So all that worrying went to a waste.
yeah.
So I think about examples
Mm,
like that, and then I get rid of my worrying.
mm,
And I also now apply the teachings of the Buddha as much as I can, like dependent origination, how these things dependently arise, and
mm,
then how they disappear, and that it has nothing to do with me.
mhm,
Even when I know that failures or um, these
mm,
inevitable, uncertain events, sad things, when they happen, they just happen. That's
mm,
whole life. And I take that obstacles, there's no way that we are completely free from all the obstacles. Obstacles become the path, and you start taking them, embracing them as the path, and the
mm,
and the practice becomes enjoyable with it.
mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I look at anxiety, worry, and fear as positive things. What is it telling me? And I need to prepare for this. And that is how I take it. Because we all are intelligent beings and we tend to look at every detail that the mind tells and we get overworked up with things. And we can direct that energy. That's also the intelligence of us. We can let our mind be free, not let it get hijacked by worry or anxiety, but instead direct that energy toward preparation and looking into options. And that way we get occupied with that important work, and there's less opportunity for the mind to worry. I hope that helps.
Definitely. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Bhante.
you are welcome. Let's share merits and happy Vesak again. And I kindly ask those who continue to join these Thursday sessions. Peace House wants to monitor through the website the number of participants, and I love if you could sign up so that they have a head count every day of how many people are able to join, and it's free. You don't have to make any payment, and it just takes 1-2 minutes, and we will be thankful for your willingness to sign up. And you just go to the website, look for programs, and then click sign up. So that way you do so, I think, 2 hours in advance. So then
Oh, okay.
your name shows up in everybody's calendar who share Peace House calendar, and they see who's joining, and annually they do a head count, and that helps them to know which program was attended by who and stuff like that. Thank
Okay.
you, and let's share merits. May the suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, Devas and Nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the teachings. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Good night.
Good night, Bhante.
Bhante.